Hello everyone and welcome to today's Vixio webinar. Vixio Data Hub, a single source of truth in an era of regulatory expansion, where we'll be showcasing some of the data available to Vixio Data Hub subscribers or premium account holders, as well as some use cases and how clients are using Vixio data to inform their strategic decision making. My name is Gareth Owens, Key Account Manager here at Vixio. And joining the webinar today is Daniel Stone, Director of Data and Insights. Welcome, Danny.
Hi, Gareth.
So for anyone who isn't aware, Vixio is a regulatory technology company serving both the gambling and payments industries. It is a trusted source of independent, authoritative, and actionable regulatory intelligence used by compliance, regulatory, strategy, and development professionals operating in highly regulated industries that are undergoing rapid and radical change. For gambling compliance, we deliver comprehensive, time-sensitive and actionable intelligence covering more than 180 jurisdictions around the globe, both in content and packages organized by product or service type. In today's webinar, we'll be showing you our Data Hub, which is one of the many on-platform tools available to Vixio gambling compliance account holders. Firstly, to set the scene, we'll explain what the Data Hub is, how it works, where the information is sourced from, and where the detail is available. We'll then provide a run-through of some of the key areas within the Data Hub, running some comparisons across jurisdictions, highlighting some interesting trends, and detailing how clients will use the content as part of their market intelligence or market entry research. To round off, Danny and I will take some audience questions at the end. So as we are talking, I do encourage you to submit your questions using the question box. And as we were speaking, we'll try and cover those at the end, make sure we get to them at the finish. Hopefully we've got your attention for about 30 to 35 minutes, depending on any questions that are received, but rest assured that the webinar is being recorded and we will make that available to our viewers anytime going forward. So, the Data Hub. To start off, it makes sense to just explain that when I'm speaking with clients, I often explain that there are three content types available at Vixio. We have the editorial analysis, tracking and monitoring regulatory developments across our industry, providing daily insight on compliance themes and topics. We have the regulatory analysis, producing primary research globally, including country guides, Q&As, regulatory overviews and tools to help save our clients valuable and vital hours in jurisdictional research and safeguarding. We then also produce data analysis, which provides color to the trends, allowing clients to strategically plan and inform decision-making with reliable and trusted data. Each of those content types alone is extremely valuable. However, when used together, it gives a powerful 360 view of a market status, the opportunities, current regulation, and direction of travel. So what is Data Hub? Who is it for? How does it work? More than ever, company strategy, whether that's new market entry or market consolidation, is based upon the associated costs of regulatory suitability or those ongoing costs of regulatory developments. Informing those decisions with high quality, reliably sourced and verifiable data means the Vixio tool has become a vital cog in the strategic decision-making process. Danny, before we begin with a screen share to talk through some of the specific areas and content included within the Data Hub, perhaps you can introduce a little bit about the work of your team, how the Data Hub is available and how it's grown within recent years.
Sure. So our Data Hub provides a complete view of verifiable data across the global gambling industry. And we've really seen a step change in the extent of regulated online market data, in particular, over the last 6 to 12 years. This has come about due to the spread of local licensing regimes for online gambling globally, and in the US in particular. In parallel to this, there's been a growing need for a centralized access point for reliable market data and forecasts to validate growth opportunities and support our clients' strategic planning initiatives. Through the Data Hub, industry professionals can access all reported verifiable data from regulated gambling markets and publicly traded companies on one easy-to-navigate portal, spanning more than 400 data sets and 4 million data points. On top of our jurisdictional data sets, Vixio's suite of market monitors consolidate data from multiple markets and operators to facilitate easy yet powerful cross-jurisdictional comparisons. We supplement this official data with proprietary forecasting dashboards containing customizable online market size forecasts across key global online gambling markets. These dashboards are regularly updated to incorporate new legislative or market developments, helping to validate and influence our clients' internal assumptions and to inform their operating strategies. Vixio's team of analysts also helps clients to identify the latest market trends before the competition and to expand their understanding of the global gambling landscape through written analysis of product and operator level trends.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Danny. Let's get into it then, and if we navigate to the Vixio homepage and then to the data hub. Great, so I can see that on screen. For the first piece of content I'd like to start with, I think we'll go into one of those market monitors which you mentioned. So the market monitors, as you say, are an aggregation of cross-jurisdictional and comparative data. If you head to the market monitor for the US, let's start there.
So now
just to provide some context for people. Now, in recent years, and following the repeal of PASPA within the US, this is an area which has experienced exponential growth in reporting data. So for someone covering the US sports betting market, it is a beast now. What can you tell us about it, Danny?
So we can see here our market monitors form the second out of 5 pillars on the data hub. And we can see that the US sports betting market monitor is the most recently updated of our 8 market monitors. It's also our most regularly updated market monitor due to the near daily frequency of data releases in this sector, which I think has made it increasingly difficult for market observers to keep up with developments. So this market monitor aggregates key indicators such as handle, gross revenue, gross margins, year-on-year growth, and operator level market shares across all reporting regulated state markets. The report's updated on an ad hoc basis as new data is released, so we can see all of the May data that's come out so far this month in this column here, providing clients with an up-to-date overview of key market size, growth, and market share metrics in this space. So whether it's the kind of headline, handle, GGR, hold rates, or year-on-year growth metrics that clients are interested in, deeper dive into channel-specific, sport-specific trends, or the kind of operator level, brand level, market share dynamics. This is kind of the one-stop shop for those kind of key headline KPIs across the US sports betting sector.
Thank you. And even now, I mean, when we're looking at the amount of data and the volume, this continues to grow kind of month on month, year on year. As you say, it's become more and more difficult for clients to track and simply manage the volume of data which is becoming available. Instead, when they need to be kind of drawing analysis, providing value as opposed to doing the scraping. Can you give us an idea of the scale of how much data is available now, perhaps compared to 2021 or even 2022? And what are Vixio doing differently now as that data continues to grow?
Sure. So we had a look at this the other day. This individual market monitor actually holds more than 90,000 numerical data points that have accumulated over the last 6 years since the repeal of PASPA. We're pulling data currently from 32 state markets, which is up from 25 2 years ago in the summer of 2022, 19 3 years ago in the summer of 2020. We can kind of just see just through the shape of this individual grid, the kind of rapid rollout of sports betting on a state-by-state basis over the last 6 years. And it means more data to collect, both in terms of those kind of headline GGR handle metrics, more states that feed into this broader online market share piece. One thing we've done so far this year is to pivot from a previous approach of providing quarterly and annual US online sports betting and iGaming market share estimates to providing this monthly, rolling 3-month, rolling 12-month view, putting data from all reporting states to give that overall market share picture. So For sure, it's a higher volume of data to keep up with. I mentioned it's now transitioned to a near daily frequency. And just to give a slightly different perspective, our individual Illinois sports betting data set actually features more than 100,000 data points right now on its own, so more than this whole nationwide market monitor. So where more detailed granular data exists, clients can access that data via our single jurisdiction state data sets, which are linked to in the index here.
Very helpful, thank you. And that's a good point to follow on from and perhaps carry on with the individual data sets which we host. You mentioned around 400 individual data sets and over 4 million data points entirely. So our clients and industry professionals can access all of those reported and verifiable data sets, whether that's from regulated gambling markets and the authorities to publicly traded companies. Now, we know that this data is publicly available, as we know, but how does Vixio track it, and what kind of value add do we provide when we are analysing these reports?
So I brought up an example of one of the data sets that we that features written Vixio view analysis here, the Netherlands Online Gambling Report. In recent years, we've added written summaries to more than 20 of our most popular jurisdictional data sets, including this. These Vixio view write-ups provide clients with chart-rich overviews of headline market indicators and any noteworthy data points in each update, whether that's monthly, in the case of US states, or quarterly or annually. Each Vixio view features bullet point analysis and a two-line summary of the latest data, helping to join the dots from the regulatory or tax changes that we cover elsewhere in the Vixio service to actual market outcomes.
Okay, nice.
So,
sorry, I was just saying, let's take a bit more of a deep dive on that then with the Netherlands, and perhaps we'll come on to a different country after that as well to provide some colour to our listeners. But let's start with the Netherlands. What can you tell us?
Sure. So the Netherlands is one of the younger regulated online gambling markets in Europe. It's also one of the more recent additions to our Vixio view coverage. You can see here that we provide this kind of written analysis on the site, on the page in this sense, but we also integrate this analysis into the downloadable data sets. So we have the written analysis, the accompanying charts, which complement the data which is presented in this kind of tabular filterable format here. So each time we receive new Dutch data, we'll update our analysis to drill into the kind of salient data points and anything that stands out within the data to help kind of shine a light on what we think clients need to be aware of. It's kind of split into this kind of more kind of data focused data analysis in the bullet points, and then a final two-line summary, kind of looking to add a bit of layer of analysis to give the kind of so what around the data. One thing I'd say here is that I mentioned joining the dots from regulatory change to market outcomes. In the case of the Netherlands, we have to be kind of aware of the impact of the kind of piecemeal expansion of the market since launch. Lots of the major pre-regulation grey market operators were shut out of the market initially due to the imposition of cooling off periods. We can see the impact of that in the latter quarter of 2022, the first half of 2023. The real strong year-on-year growth we saw over this period was a reflection of the likes of Unibet, these operators impacted by cooling off periods entering the market. And more recently, the introduction of a ban on non-targeted gambling advertising last July. We can see the early impact of that on the number of active accounts, revenue spent per account, even drilling into the context, the number of visits to websites, whether from registered players or unregistered players. So really, we're trying to give that context, tell the story around the data, and kind of not just focus on that headline data in terms of growth and market size. drill into why we're seeing what we're seeing and tell a story around that data.
Yeah, thank you. It's always leaning back on that the other content available from Vixio, whether that's the news and analysis, the regulatory updates, if there's perhaps updates on tax or how that is impacting the market as well. It provides invaluable resource for anyone with a vested interest in the market, or anyone potentially looking to paint a picture of that market. Let's take a different country. Let's move to Africa and perhaps look at somewhere like South Africa. Now, South Africa's, I just provide some context. I've had quite a few requests from South Africa recently, and I know both the news and analysis and the country report have been proving very popular in recent months. And for the context there, the federal elections occurred on the 29th of May and resulted in the ruling party ANC losing majority for the first time since apartheid. Now, the formation of the new coalition government will likely lead to more movement in H2 regarding the stalled DA remote gambling bill, which was published in Parliament in April. It's definitely one to keep an eye on from a regulatory standpoint, but in terms of the data and what we're seeing in South Africa, Danny, what can you share for our listeners?
Sure. So this is an example of a data set which illustrates some quite extreme growth trends. We can just see by looking at the charts here. So namely the huge growth seen in betting revenue, fixed odds betting revenue, in particular in two of South Africa's provincial licensing hubs of Western Cape and Mpumalanga. But also a bit like the Netherlands, it's a data set that kind of benefits from some broader context and analysis to help to kind of explain those trends. So in this case, we obviously show the extent to which the South African online gambling market has grown through these charts, through the actual data that underpins the analysis in the charts here. But also we seek to explain how that has been achieved through the rapid consumer adoption of live dealer casino games and subsequently online slots, crash games, following their approval as contingent events for betting in these kind of booming provinces we see here. So it's a data set that's updated annually, in contrast to the kind of US cadence and the quarterly or half-yearly Netherlands cadence. So you'll see a slightly more in-depth dive into the data here, looking to tell that story around the rough timeline, how these products emerged at operator level, at provincial level, weaving in information that we've gleaned from channel checks through our general kind of research and talking with certain market stakeholders, and yeah, putting that all together to give our view on our headline take in terms of what this data means, and the kind of that context, that kind of regulatory political context that you referenced.
Yeah,
this is a sector which is booming, but it's subject to potential regulatory risk right now. So it's quite ripe for this kind of Vixio view analysis, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's definitely where I've been pointing people that have been asking me about South Africa and exactly what it means. Certainly kind of on the operator and supplier level. Okay, great. That's really, really helpful to go through that, Danny. So let's change tack. So the Vixio view analysis is really helpful for helping to inform assumptions of our clients and how they kind of form strategy and execute planning. Another area where your team is providing valuable insight and more of a forward lens is within our data dashboards. So here within the data dashboards and kind of forecasting summaries, users are enabled to generate market forecasts in key global gambling markets based upon their growth strategies and their regulatory assumptions and risks, like we're seeing, like you saw there with mention of South Africa. Over the last couple of years, we've added the US, Canada, Europe, LATAM. Let's take this opportunity to focus on LATAM, which I know is an extremely popular market right now, which we've actually had a few webinars and podcasts on recently, which can be found on vixio.com. But Danny, let's go into the LATAM dashboard. What can you share?
Sure. So our forecasting dashboards can be accessed in this area of the data hub. I'll click through to our LATAM dashboard here. So obviously this is the forward-looking piece to complement the kind of official verifiable data that you'll find in our market monitors and core data sets. You will notice that the actual numerical outputs here have been blocked out. This is a demo version of the forecasting dashboard. But you can get a sense for how it works, I think. So really our forecasting dashboards, whether for the US, Canada, LATAM, Europe, really pitched at kind of achieving two things. Firstly, we want to give clients a transparent view of our own expectations regarding how regulated online gambling is going to develop in these regions in the medium term. So that's from a legislative standpoint in terms of which markets have already launched online gambling, which markets have legalized online gambling or on the pathway to launching active markets, and which markets may legalize down the line and launch online gambling. So we can see our legislative assumptions in these columns here, and then the market size outputs, which are blocked out here. That's the second piece there, are medium-term expectations with regard to the total addressable market in Latin America through to 2027. The second angle really is allowing users to build their own forecasts, run their own scenarios within the dashboard. So we can just do things like pushing the launch of Chile's regulated online gambling market back to 2026. We can toggle the expected licensing framework in this column here. We can, in the case of Argentina, where there's a provincial approach, state-level approach to online gambling regulation, we can see what would happen if a broader proportion of the national population is living in states where online gambling is legal and regulated. So it's giving that that extra layer to allow users to run their own scenarios, to test and engage our expectations under those different scenarios, to see what the impacts of the launch of online gambling in a fresh market like Guatemala might do for our forecast. So yeah, really it's providing that forward-looking piece to really kind of provide that context, provide the benchmarkable numbers to allow clients to kind of validate, challenge their own internal assumptions. For clients from the outside looking in, financial services, consultancy, perhaps to gauge Vixio's view on how these markets are going to play out. So yeah, this is something that we've put a lot of work into over the last few years, and yeah, it's something that, in the case of LATAM, is quite fluid. You'll see these regularly changes made to expected launch dates, existing growth momentum, how we think things are going to play out. So you'll see quite regular tweaks and adjustments, which are very transparently and clearly explained in the instructions and notes tab here.
And that's really key in a lot of the data that we produce and the information that we provide. It's important to be able to provide that methodology and kind of show users how we're reaching those scenarios, and it's always something we can talk through with them as well. Just on that, the LATAM dashboard, and in fact all dashboards, are a prime example of 360 use of the Vixio content. So you mentioned about inputting scenario-based changes depending on the changing regulatory updates, maybe some things you might see within the market assessment tool, or maybe the global gambling review, which we produce to supplement that market assessment tool. It's all vital in being able to support the internal benchmark and underpin strategic decision making. So let's maintain the topic of LATAM. This could be a good chance to actually introduce the partnership monitors. where we now have LATAM, Central and Eastern Europe, and also the inaugural one which we built, which was for the US. What can you tell us about the LATAM Partnership Monitor and that style of data being produced?
Sure. So our partnership monitors are a relatively recent addition to the Data Hub. These are Excel-based reports. They're text-based reports as opposed to the kind of numerical reports that we tend to specialize in. So they track partnerships and deals struck by online gambling operators in the US, Latin America, Central and Eastern Europe, key emerging market regions of interest to our clients. Deals struck between operators and B2B suppliers, media companies, and sports bodies, leagues, and teams. So partnership monitors help our clients to gauge the speed and direction of deal making taking place in these key emerging markets, to scout which operators and suppliers are making significant moves and investments at regional or local level, and to focus on where future commercial opportunities may lie. So each of these partnership monitors will, in the first instance, provide this kind of timeline of commercial partnerships struck between local operators and either B2B partners or sporting bodies. In each case, we will link to the original press release, hyperlinked in this column here. And we also allow clients to kind of filter and toggle between jurisdictions of interest, deal categories of interest. Just taking Brazil as an example, this is for sure the market where there's been the fastest pace of deal making over the last few years. We can look specifically at the kind of sponsorship deals struck between Brazil-facing operators and sports teams or bodies in the area, typically front of shirt sponsorships. For sure, there's a huge volume of those taking place in January last year. So we can just filter in on the specific area that we're interested in, looking at content agreements. So typically slots content, deals between game studios and local operators. We can zero in on whatever we're particularly interested in. Again, on that front of shirt sponsorship question, we have an overview of the Brazilian landscape at the top level of the division, the top Brazilian football division here. And to supplement that main deals and partnerships tab, we also provide licensing lists for all regulating markets within the region. So we're going to see the Brazilian tab really explode with licensed operators as federal licenses start to be issued there in the remainder of this year. We can look at Mexico as an example of a market. Also, I believe Puerto Rico, markets where there's no official list of licensed operators, but we can build a pretty comprehensive picture of who's active there, who their local partners are, through primary research and our own kind of understanding of the market. So the likes of Betano, a more recent addition to the market, we're able to track that and update these license lists as new licenses are issued or new operators enter the market. And even for a pre-regulated, not pre-regulated, but pre-launch market like Peru, where there's been a flood of applications for online gambling licenses, they started to be issued ahead of market launch over the last 3 or 4 months. So this is an area that's going to develop through the remainder of the year as more licenses are issued ahead of market launch. So hopefully a pretty helpful overview of the competitive landscape, the kind of direction, pace of deal flow in these regions to supplement the forecasting dashboards and official data, just to provide a slightly different perspective on the kind of market trends in these key emerging markets.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an extremely helpful body of work, which only gets more powerful as well with the more mature it becomes. A couple of things to note, which I see on there and discuss with people, is some of the success that you see in the region from early adopters and early movers, and also as well as having that license tab, it's worth noting that you can find those license lists on on the Vixio platform within the country reports and guides, but this is our kind of take on them and actually taking them away from those original sources and hosting them on the platform. So thank you, Danny, really insightful.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. That's I think those are the kind of 4 pillars which we're going to spend the most time on for today. So why don't we go in and take a couple of the questions which we've had today. Just bear with me. Okay, so we spoke about South Africa, but the question here says, what other data do you have for Africa?
So we did just look at that national South African data. We're tracking provincial data also from those emerging licensing hubs, where we're tracking monthly betting data there. I would say in general, there's a paucity of official market data for this region, at least on a kind of jurisdictional basis, leaving company data aside. So it's something that we will be providing the extensive kind of verifiable market data for this region. But I talked about the different perspective we can provide through our partnership monitors. We will actually be launching an African partnership monitor next month to help provide clients with a better understanding of the competitive landscape in key jurisdictions in the region. And we'll also be launching this with a slightly new perspective, giving clients operator supplier matrices to show which suppliers have games hosted on the B2C sites of African licensees in terms of slot games, crash games, live dealer games, to kind of, in the absence of kind of supply level share data, to give a view on who has the kind of real estate on these leading operators' websites in this region.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a really powerful piece of content for our operator clients and suppliers looking to perhaps get a foothold in the region. Definitely want to keep an eye out for in July then for that, and kind of do get in touch with your account managers when that is launched. Okay, next question. So a question which I often receive on demos as well when talking about data is what kind of grey market data do you have? Danny, best with you this one.
Sure. So I'm asked questions on this subject a lot as well. It's something we're cognizant of. I would say the forecast you see for Brazil, Peru, some of these kind of pre-launch markets are informed by our internal estimates for the existing scale of the grey market in these countries. We have historically produced estimates, typically for kind of regulating markets, like Sweden, Brazil. So it's something that we do look at, and we do provide kind of clues and inputs from industry bodies, regulators. The Nordic monopolies come to mind. There's studies put out there. We're kind of cognizant of those clues, and also we try to track who the leading operators are in each of these kind of grey markets of interest, particularly in Latin America and Africa. I would say in terms of delivering that intelligence, understanding to clients, this is an area where our analyst access provision could come into play. So simply through correspondence with our clients over email, over the phone, we can share information that may not sit naturally in a kind of fixed Excel-based spreadsheet. We can share our understanding of the leading operators, any snippets or clues we can share in terms of market size in grey markets. So that's a long way of saying it's an area that we look at, we try to shed a light on. But I would say due to our kind of strong focus on regulated market data, is something that would probably be served most efficiently through that analyst access that I mentioned there.
Yeah, I would agree on that, and I think with being able to verify and the type of content which we produce and our clients like to rely upon, there has to, we do kind of underpin, or the ethos of that underpins every piece of content which we produce. So for data, like you say, we will host that verifiable data. We will provide our methodology on site, but with the analyst access, do get in touch with us, do lean on us, and we will be able to share what we are able to share in that regard. So get in touch with your account managers if you'd like to maybe understand that analyst access a bit better, whether that's across editorial, whether that's regulatory, or with data, as Danny mentions. Next question. So it says, do you have a global comparison? So we've just looked at continents. We looked at US Market Monitor. I know we've mentioned the Europe and LATAM monitors, but what in terms of global comparison are we producing, Danny?
So one bit of feedback we've had from clients is that they appreciate that level of aggregation, pulling data from multiple sources to allow that cross-jurisdictional benchmarking and save time and allow kind of macro, kind of measuring kind of bigger picture macro trends. But there is an appetite for greater level of aggregation. So we will be launching an international online gambling market monitor, currently scheduled for September this year, providing it's a fairly simple but hopefully quite powerful annual and quarterly market size time series data for regulated online markets at state level in the US, across Europe, also for the rest of the world, pulling in like sort of Australia, South Africa, Colombia, Ontario, obviously Peru, Brazil will form part of that conversation in the not too distant future. So the fairly simple kind of quarterly annual market size comparison with allowing users to toggle between total market size, online betting, online gaming, to toggle between currencies to get that kind of constant currency view in an international sense. So hopefully that will be quite a powerful piece of content to supplement what we already have, to really just give that one kind of source of truth, one access point for that kind of that headline market size data, irrespective of where that jurisdiction might be located on a continental basis.
Yeah, very good. And as you say, that's kind of that data really helps to supplement not just the data that we host continentally, but also looking at things like the market assessment tool, which our account holders will be able to access if they've got the means to, as part of their package with the Global Gambling Review, which we update every 6 months or so as well. So fourth question, it just says about market shares. So we've touched upon it a little bit. I know you've mentioned it within kind of the US and kind of markets where we can, but what about market share data? Is there anything specific for market shares which we can provide to customers?
Sure. So where that market share data is publicly available, we will track that, make that available on the site. That's most obviously the case in US states. That's also the case for a couple of European markets, but generally market share data is not something that's reported, at least by national regulators. There is a cohort of markets where we are able to either reproduce actual market share data that isn't in the public domain, thinking of markets like Italy, Greece, historically Sweden, where we can kind of tap our pool of contacts and reporters to be able to attain that data and be able to make use of it in content, share with clients perhaps. But also there's a separate cohort of markets where such that kind of data isn't available, but we might have enough clues to produce our own estimates. So the UK, Australia, Spain would be good examples of that historically, where we're able to weave those estimates into our own content, maybe share those estimates with clients over email, through that analyst access piece that we spoke about before. And finally, there is a pretty big cohort of markets where we don't have enough clues or information to be able to produce those percentage market share estimates in terms of market shares. But we are generally able to ascertain the leading operators in any given market, whether regulated or grey, particularly grey markets in Latin America, Africa. So in those cases, we can share our understanding about who the leading operators are via the analyst access. We will also be looking to weave this kind of intelligence information into the International Online Gambling Market Monitor that I mentioned before. Clients will be familiar with interactive tabs that we include in all of our market monitors. We'll be looking to weave in that kind of information on a jurisdictional basis into that market monitor, so clients can toggle between jurisdictions of interest to get the kind of key market size growth charts, but also a list of the leading operators as per our understanding in any of those markets that feature in that market monitor.
Perfect. Okay. I did promise at the start that we'd try to kind of keep people's attention for 30 to 40 minutes, and we're at the 40. So I will make that the last question that we've had, and we'll wrap there. If anyone who is viewing would like to know anything else about Vixio's Data Hub tool, or you'd be interested in discussing options for getting access to your current plan, please visit vixio.com or drop us an email at info@vixio.com. As I mentioned, if you are an account holder, but you would like to receive an upgrade to receive Data Hub Insight as part of your plan, then do get in touch with your account manager at Vixio. Feel free to get in touch with me directly via LinkedIn just by searching my name, Gareth Owens, or reach out to my email. At Vixio.com, you will find plenty of our most recent webinars. I mentioned during the conversation today about a multitude of Brazilian webinars and podcasts as well, which were available there, discussing some of the hot industry topics. Danny, I just wanted to say a specific thank you to you for your insight and time today. Really, really valuable, and thank you very much. Thank you everybody for joining. Cheers. See you again soon.